Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. This meeting is being broadcast live by Westford Cable Access TV and recorded for playback online. By participating in this meeting, you're consenting to your audio and likeness being used for this purpose. So to start our meeting, the 7 p.m. agenda item is for open forum. Do any members of the commission have something for open forum? No. Matt?
Nope.
Do any members of the audience have something for open forum? Okay. Moving on to our other 7 p.m. agenda item, it's the Westford Public Schools 5th grade Adventure Days 2025 follow-up.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great. My name's Jamie Holmes, 20 Moore Road. I am the coordinator of the 5th grade Adventure Days. Years ago, it used to be called 5th grade camp, and now we do 2 days of adventure. A little bit different than what it used to be, but all the same. We are back again this year, looking to use the camps on Wednesday, 5/27, and Thursday, 5/28, with a rain date of Friday, 5/29, for the Adventure Days. And in the past, the commission has been gracious enough to give us a fee reduction to keep the costs low for our families, our 5th grade families, to all be able to send their children. So we're here to request a fee reduction for that. At the same time, I brought some people from 2025 to discuss their experience. Who wants to start? You want to go? No. All right, Geneva? Okay. All right, come sit up here. Say your name and your address.
My name is Geneva Margits, and my address is 14 Hidden Valley Road. I feel like the camp was a good experience because you get to go outside and you get to experience lots of different things which you wouldn't normally do inside the classroom. And we did lots of fun games, and we went on a nature hike, and we learned a lot about bugs and beavers. I thought it was a really cool experience to be able to sit down with your friends at lunch and meet new people from different schools.
Awesome. Thanks, Geneva.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Samira Krishnan. My address is 2 Rolling Meadow Lane. And I really liked the Adventure Day because it was way different from being in a classroom, and we all got to go outside and we played water games, and it was super fun. And I got to meet people from different schools, and I just think it was a really fun experience.
Thank you. Ryan?
My name's Raya, and my address is 10 Deer Run Drive. And I think Adventure Days was a great experience where you could go outdoors, and the space was very open and beautiful in the nature. And when we went on nature walks, it was a very open space and the pond, and there was a lot of fish. It was just really fun. We could meet new people from different schools and make new friends. So
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. I think, did any of the adults want to talk? Sarah, did you want to give your experience?
I can.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Sarah Falcone, 53 Lakeshore Drive South. I've had 3 kids go through.
You're talking to the mic.
Or just the mic doesn't do anything.
Oh, it does nothing.
That's for the TV.
It just does for the folks, the audience at
So I've
home.
had 3 kids go through 5th Adventure Day. My oldest went through 5 days of it, which was really great. He got to do all the great things that camp had to offer. And then my other 2 daughters went to the 2 days, and yeah, they loved it. We're going to come tonight, but they said that they just meeting new kids, being outside, doing the trail walks. We walk East Boston camps all the time anyway, so they're familiar with it, but it was a good opportunity for them to meet other kids.
And Sarah even comes back when her kids aren't there.
I volunteer
So
to help 5th graders.
that's also wonderful too. Shane, did you want to talk?
Hi, My name is Shane Bersade, 10 Deer Run Drive. We moved here 3 years ago, and for the last 3 years, I've had a kid in 5th grade each year. And so it was, and I've had the good fortune where I could get off work and volunteer for the last 3 years, which has been amazing. First off, moving here and seeing East Boston camps, unbelievable. I had no idea it existed until I volunteered, and seeing my first go through just all of the activities that they had set up, the nature walk, the walk around the park, even just the volunteers, we all help during lunch, and they have lunch typically down by the pond where they're just interspersed with every 5th grader from the town, which is just an insane sight to see. But then to see the 5th graders just interacting with each other, kids they'd never met before, out in that open area, and they're talking about the frogs that are hopping by, the fish that they're seeing in the pond. They're talking about the birds that that they see. And again, that was surreal. This last year, I was able to make the walk, because after they're done on the second day, after they're done with all the activities, we have a nature walk through the woods over to Stony Brook Middle School, and we finish up at the track there. And again, we walk through whatever that is, 3/4 of a mile or a mile. And again, just being able with the teachers, with the kids, pointing out what you're seeing, the different flora, the different fauna, don't eat that berry, stuff like that. But really, seeing these kids, and one of the things that really struck me this last year was just seeing these kids just as they're going through and walking through, just see them get an appreciation just for being out in the wilderness, which they're trapped in school all day. They may or may not get out to East Boston camps by themselves or with their family, but they're them just taking appreciation for the things around them. And that's really what struck me again after 3 years. I still learn things from the kids I see when I volunteer, and again, seeing that light bulb go over their head was just incredible. So,
Awesome. Thanks,
that's all I got.
Shane. Awesome. Ruth, did they cover it, or did you want to say anything?
Can I say one little thing? Pretty short.
Real quick, you come up here though.
Okay. When they took this away a few years ago, it was really sad. My 2 older had got to go, and my next 2 were in line to come. And when they brought it back, it was amazing, because for some of the kids, like we've been camping at East Boston camps through my husband and the scouts for the last 20 years. But some kids, this is their first time, like in wilderness. They go to school, they come home, they have sports or different types of things, but they haven't been engulfed in the wilderness for more than a day or half a day. And this is pretty amazing opportunity. So thank you for the opportunity to even rent it for these 2 days. Thank you.
Yep.
So as you can see, we are very appreciative of being able to use East Boston camps. We would be very appreciative if we could get a reduction in the fee for this coming year. And so thanks for having us.
I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
How close are we to balancing our inflow and outflow of money? We receive money from Teamworks for the summer camp and from rentals like this one or private rentals. And then we expend money, either reimbursement for equipment or for a maintenance worker for the summer. How close are those to balancing? 'Cause that's what we're supposed to be trying to balance.
Right. I mean, the goal is to try to balance. Yes. I mean, I think.
That's why I want to know how close we are.
Can I get the numbers? Look at the numbers and actually have a hard number. Go back the last couple of years, because I'd say off the top of my head, maybe $10,000 less taken in than what is expended. But also, again, that's outside of this past year we've done a septic repair, right? So
That's 40 grand right there.
right.
Itself, yeah.
That's I want to I'll get the numbers and provide that to the commissioners in a chart, so that it's not just kind of anecdotal off the top of my head. But that's kind of where I think it would be, approximately 10,000.
I'm not opposed to the reduction of the fee or elimination of the fee, because it's our own school system that we're talking about here. But we still have to try to at least come out close to even in the inflow and outflow of money.
Right. And the facilities management contract is, if not released today, will be tomorrow on the town's website and posted to the state's procurement system. So hopefully in going out and soliciting new quotes or proposals for the cost, we'll get a better, hopefully those will come in less than what was previously being paid. So, you know.
Something, taskings were eliminated from that list.
Yep.
Okay, good.
So in terms of making a motion, do we have a number or something specific that I can put in the motion for us to vote on?
The past has been $1,000. So make a motion to reduce the rental fee to $1,000.
Okay, can I, to $1,000?
It will cost $1,000.
Okay.
1,000.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want the words to be right.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so can I have a motion to reduce the rental fee to $1,000?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Because I don't know what our budget is. I don't think any of you guys do either.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
And it's great to hear the kids' experience and,
Yes, they were excited to come and share it, so thanks for having us.
well, and we appreciate them coming and speaking in public.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
So moving on to our 7:05 PM agenda item, it's a public hearing for Massachusetts Electric Company for the Carlisle Road right-of-way.
Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171. The Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, February 25th, 2026 at 7:05 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall 55 Main Street to consider the request for determination of applicability application of the Massachusetts Electric Company for the replacement of distribution poles and overhead equipment and associated tree removal within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands, isolated vegetated wetlands, and inland bank within the right-of-way of Carlisle Road near number 49 and 68.
Hi, my name is Carmen Dancy. I'm here for Massachusetts Electric Company on this item. So this is for the Westford reconductoring and pole replacement project. The project as a whole basically goes from like Liberty Way off Carlisle Road down to like Concord Road, that intersection. It's like 0.8 miles in total. There's an existing distribution line. Basically what we're trying to do is replace the wires in that section of the line and then select pole replacements for poles that might be having an issue or, you know, they're a little dated, need to be updated. And then replacing equipment, like overhead equipment that's existing on the line. Most of these activities that I just described are covered under the limited project provisions of the Wetlands Protection Act, as they are maintenance of an existing distribution asset. And this exemption also falls under Westford's bylaws. What the RDA is for the tree removals that are proposed to support these activities, specifically tree removals within buffer zones. So along this section of the line, there are 2 isolated wetlands and then a bordering vegetated wetland, the 2 and like a small ponded area. The isolated wetlands and the small ponded area have a 100-foot buffer zone under the town's bylaws. So right now, we are proposing to remove 8 trees in total in this buffer zone. So that's along the entire road. The trees that we are proposing for removal are trees that are, number one, either touching the line directly, or they are leaning towards the line and are very close in some capacity. So it's very I mean, if you've driven down this, it's like trees everywhere. So we only are trying to remove what's absolutely necessary to support, you know, both the integrity of the existing system and then also the reliability of what we're going to be implementing.
That's a laser pointer, right?
Yes.
If you want to indicate the specific location of the trees that are being removed.
Yeah.
And can you just maybe blow it up a little bit too, so we can actually see the addresses that are referring to?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So this is like the line, all these little dots are the poles on the side of the road. And then these green little bubble things are the trees. So there's 2 up by this one pole. So this is across from 49 Carlisle Road. And then one next to this one down here, and then there's another one. Yep. And then farther down on Carlisle Road, there are 3 more trees. So this is over by the historic house that's at the corner of Concord and Carlisle. This is right here. So for all the tree removals that we were here we go. So this is across from 49 Carlisle Road. As you can see, this tree is touching the lines on, both in the middle. And it has, you can kind of see over here, we did try to do trimming years ago. Clearly that's not enough. So we're trying, but, and then do you want to scroll to the next page? This is just the wetland. And then you can see, so this tree is proposed for removal because it's leaning towards the line within a foot of it. The tree next to it will not be removed because it is leaning away. So we're trying to do our best. And then you can kind of see this pine right here for removal too. Again, leaning towards it, very close proximity to the line. So those are both those 2 images that we just looked at. Those are closer to 49 Carlisle Road, so a little kind of in the middle of the road. One of the wetlands, and then this is towards the end of Carlisle Road. As you can see here, it's this tree with the 2 behind it. Again, so we are only asking to remove the trees absolutely necessary to support the integrity of the line. And then this is kind of just a farther away image so you can kind of see.
Wetlands over here.
Yep. So no impact, no trees that are proposed for removal are within the wetlands. This is all buffer work. And then all the work would occur from the roadside. So trees would be cut several inches above the ground surface. Some of the tree removed from the site for disposal. And then the ground surface would be left to revegetate. We just don't want things that are going to fall and impact everyone's electricity. But it will be, remain vegetated following these activities. Yeah.
Noel?
How close are these in general to the wetlands?
So, this is the wetland. All of them are within 100 feet. Most of which, if you want to go, do you want to go back to the map?
20 feet away from the...
Yeah, I couldn't remember if in the chart it had, I think it just says DBH.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the DBH.
But most of them are within 50 feet. The 2 up here are, close to 100 feet away. Same with this one down here is literally on the 100-foot line. But I believe 3 of them at least should be within the 0 to 50-foot buffer zone. Or, probably all of those. So 5 in total within 0 to 50 feet of a wetland.
Hi, Vicki Geary,
Just,
51.
Yes, we'll get to the questions, but first I want to make sure if other commissioners have questions or also if our agent has something.
I don't know.
Okay, so any comments or questions from members of the audience?
Okay.
Thank you for waiting.
So I'm at Vicki Geary, 51 Carlisle Road, and first off, a little housekeeping thing. When you say there's a public meeting, can you put the time on it? There's no time listed on this, so.
On the public notice?
On the public notice that we got, that the abutters got. We both got our notices, and there's no time on it. Now, luckily, I know where to look, but, not everybody's that attuned with the town website. Like I said, I'm at 51 Carlisle Road, and
705.
Which one is 50?
Oh, you're up there.
okay. So you see, right there we go. I'm right on the edge.
Yeah.
I'm right on the edge there. Now I understand you've been focusing tonight on the trees.
Right on the edge of what?
See that green line right there,
Yeah.
right where your cursor is. That's it.
Yep.
That's me. Okay. That's my driveway. Now I understand you've been focused. You talked about the trees, but the public notice that we received also referred to pole replacement. And so I guess a large part of my question, the trees, now that we see what you're looking to cut, I also want to confirm that we have utility poles, both of us, in our driveways. So we have trees in our driveways too. I want to make sure that any trees you get approval to remove, if they are falling into our driveway, as if clearly we see it's not, but that just has to be stated for the record, in my opinion, that we need to be seen. But like I said, this also asks about pole removal and pole replacement. And having gone through the storm of 2008, where the utility pole in our driveway was knocked down, and it was a horrific experience trying to find out who owned the pole. Was it National Grid? Was it Verizon? Was it Comcast? All those poles have not just electrical wiring to it, they have all of that. So what I haven't heard, aside from the tree removal, which sort of makes sense, is what is the plan for the poles? Because that also impacts those wetlands, those pole replacements. And what is the plan for that as it impacts us who live there and who work out of home?
Yeah, so all of these poles here that are shown on this.
Do you want to use the laser pointer?
Do you want to work?
So you're talking, I'm not good at using the laser. That pole is my driveway, but there's also some poles in my neighbor's driveway.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we are all concerned about those, the trees, those, we have no concern. The trees are not on our property. So we have nothing, I don't think I can say anything about that.
Yeah, so
But-
I guess all these gray poles shown on the map
Yeah.
are remaining in place.
Okay.
So they're only doing select pole replacements, so it's not like every single one, it's just a few of them. But those ones will not be touched, just the electrical wires on it. So
Okay.
like the Verizon, Comcast, those wires that are also on it will not be replaced, just the electrical wires on it. So those are the ones like at the top.
And will we get, I'm sorry, I don't know if I should go up there, but will we get notification about when this occurs?
Yes, you should, absolutely. Yeah, and you wouldn't have any like outages, but they would you'd still see people on the side of the road, but yeah.
I'm just going to add to it. I'm Carrie Fitzgerald. I'm at 49R Carlisle Road, the one to the left. Below the bank, W, whatever. So the poles that you're talking about and the trees are on Carlisle Road. Our driveways are about 450 feet. Our houses are about 450 feet from Carlisle Road. So I have a private drive, the long driveway that goes down, and then Vicky's is next to ours and shares it with another house. So the lines that come off of Carlisle Road go to Vicky's driveway, her pole in her driveway, and then which also has a transformer on it, and then it goes through the woods and to my pole on my driveway. And so those two poles come off. So during the storm that she talked about, the Carlisle Road came back up very quickly in a couple days, but we were out for a week and a half. And then there was argument about who owned the poles, who owned the wires, who owned Comcast, was it Verizon, was it National Grid? The EPA had to come in because the transformer it was a whole mess. Anyways, so my concern about my pole, I know we're here talking about the trees, but my pole, what's the wire called, the safety wire?
The guy wire.
The guy wire. So my guy wire, and I can show you a picture of it, is attached to a dead tree.
Mm-hmm.
So that's obviously not correct and needs to be fixed. So I don't know if this is the appropriate forum to talk about that, but if we're not replacing the two poles and we're not involved in the tree work, because that tree work there's no houses on that side of Carlisle Road.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big concern. The guy wire, and then my cable box is actually on my pole.
Mm-hmm.
So
I can.
I have pictures if you want to see.
Oh no,
a dead
I
tree.
believe you. I know.
And I did call Anthony.
Yes.
I called, which was on the number here, and talked to him about it, and he appreciated me calling and explaining the whole situation, and he wasn't aware of what was going to take place, but he appreciated all the history and the locations of the poles and the guy wire and everything?
Yeah, so he was tracking down some engineering data to
Right.
try to figure out more on what you have. We are still trying to communicate on trying to get all your answers, but if you're open to it, we can definitely give you a contact if like anything like that happens in the future, like who to call or what hotline to call. Because like, it sucks when your
Yeah.
power goes down.
Well, yeah, and then, I mean, in particular, like, that guy
Yeah.
wire is attached to a dead tree, which is probably gonna fall.
So you have somebody with the utility that you can follow up with for your
Is it
questions?
Anthony that I'm supposed to call?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
number that
Yeah.
was on here,
Okay.
Yes.
that I talked to,
Mm-hmm.
so he'll be our contact for
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then between our two poles, there's trees, so I don't know if that was.
Yeah, so we can.
Is this germane to our discussion?
Yeah, this is outside of our jurisdiction. It's not something we can, we have any say over what happens. So yes, it's probably more efficient if you talk directly with the representative from Mass Electric.
I know we're talking about the
Yeah.
trees, so and there are
Yeah.
a lot of trees between our.
Right.
But we're-
There are
yeah.
wetlands on our property too, so,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that perspective.
Well, but this is just
Well, we're looking
because,
at everything that's inside of this
That
green
they're act-
envelope here. And if you're outside of that green envelope,
Well-
you're not germane to this discussion.
it's,
But we're not.
well, it's trees they're proposing to remove within the buffer to the wetlands, and so it's a very limited scope of what they're doing and what we're here to talk about.
Well, I think we both appreciate that, it's just the way this
Yeah,
was
It-
worded was not very clear.
it left it open to
Left it
interpretation?
open to interpretation. So
Okay,
thank you guys, we appreciate it.
thank you. Any other comments or questions from members of the audience? So,
Just a point of clarification, are they proposing to remove the stumps or?
No.
No, okay,
All stumps will be left in place. They'll be cut like several inches above the ground.
okay, no, just wanted to
No
confirm.
grubbing.
okay. Conditional or negative?
I would recommend if the commission is amenable, condition requiring that the tree stumps be left in place, which they're going to do, I guess.
Okay,
Better just write it.
so can I?
It's in the description.
Can I have a motion to issue a conditional negative determination? All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to our 7:10 PM agenda item, which was a public hearing for Mass Electric Company, Forge Village Road.
That'll be on the subsequent March 11th meeting as they failed to comply with the required notification requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act and the town's local wetland bylaw.
So moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item, it's a continuation of the public hearing for Jack and Clara Farmstead LLC, 400 Littleton Road.
Good evening. For the record, Brian Goodrow, Hancock Associates, along with Dave Carroll, our professional wetland scientist. So, since the last hearing, we conducted the sidewalk. Thank you all for those who could attend. Dave debriefed with me with what was discussed, and there were kind of two items, I guess, that weren't adequately answered in the field. One of them relating to snow storage, the other about tree protection. I can speak to snow storage. So snow storage will be accomplished within the parking lot itself. The parking lot does reside outside of jurisdictional areas. If you look at how the project has been configured along with the parking lot, we're proposing an arcade, and there's already an existing arcade that's on premise, plus a new restaurant. So the parking lot itself was sized for the restaurant plus the existing parking that's there. Now, snow storage season, if you will, is off-season for Kimball's. So realistically, the restaurant would be open, potentially the arcade would be open, but that means that there's a lot of excess parking back here that could be utilized for snow storage. So all of that will be done outside of the buffer zone. And then the other item was with respect to potential tree protection, and that would be for areas around the stormwater basin. So that's really the nuts and bolts of why we're here before you, the stormwater management. So my recommendation for tree protection and potential saving the trees that aren't being identified on the plan currently would be, we'll set an erosion control line, we'll have it surveyed, staked out, and then I would suggest that a site walk take place, either with us and Matt, or if the commission would like to. And what we'll do is we'll walk that line, we'll see where it falls in relation to existing trees, and see how we can kind of push and pull that erosion control line to retain additional trees. So put some thought into it in the field, and we would certainly welcome that as a condition of any approvals received. Additionally, I went through my notes about the last hearing, 2 hearings ago, I guess, and I didn't have a lot of questions to respond to the commission about. I think there were 3 outstanding items really. One being the existing orders, which we discussed at the last hearing, we'll be addressing kind of as snow melts happens, and we can walk all those areas with the commission or with Matt and make sure that we're closing those out. Second item being kind of a master plan. I did talk to ownership about that, and there isn't one that I can share with you, or one that has been developed. So if I could provide enlightenment about future projects, I certainly would, but I can't do that right now because I don't know what it is. And it sounds like kind of management doesn't know the grand scheme of things, as they say. And then the last one being what's happening with our approved arcade location. So I spoke to this a little bit during the first hearing about really it being comprised of 2 pieces, one being the Sawmill Museum, which is under construction right now. It's almost finished. And the second part being the arcade itself. Now that we're proposing the arcade in a different location, there's going to be an opportunity for a different amenity there. And that's still being tossed around about what it is exactly. But recognize that we know we will need to modify the order of conditions. We'll have to come back to the commission with revised plans. We understand that we have an approved limit of work. We understand that the building needs to be shifted further from the wetlands and restoration work that needs to happen. So the modification's not going to go back on that. But at that point in time, we'll be able to kind of explain things a little bit better about what will actually be going in there. Because something will. I don't know exactly what that is right now. What I would envision timing-wise is it's going to take a season or 2 for this building to be built, which means that the arcade's going to stay in its current location for the time being. So within the next year, year and a half, we'll be back before the commission for that modification. With that, Dave, is there anything that I didn't touch on or that?
No, I thank you, Brian. I think Brian covered everything. Like I said, from our site walk, and unless you have anything else to contribute tonight, I thought that the 2 comments received were, one was snow storage, and the other was how can we take additional measures to protect peripheral margin trees on the edge of the limits of work, which I think we addressed. I don't think we have anything else, and I think with that, we're really here tonight for feedback from the commission on what further information and detail you may need towards issuance of an order of conditions, or what remains on your end.
Agreed. And just one last item, I think I alluded to this, or maybe I talked about it during the last hearing, but we did receive a second letter from engineering, peer reviewing our stormwater and our utilities and whatnot, and that is a clean letter. So the current plan right now does not need further modification per town engineering review, and we will be back before the planning board next week to discuss that part of the project.
Do you have any sense of how close you are to wrapping up with planning board?
We continued the last planning board hearing to give us time to address the engineering comments, which we've done, so we feel that we're in a good place.
Okay. Any members of the commission have? No?
I have a question for Dave. During the site visit, you talked about planting around the basin or in the basin or
Yes.
around there.
Yep.
Certain kind of plants that would be native and, that be good for the, whatever, the
Yeah.
environment out there. Do we have an approved list or something like that?
I do. Actually, the behind you, if I could use this. So again, I've identified two, we need to remove trees and we can't put trees back. But in efforts to do our best to minimize and mitigate for the impact, we proposed a native planting plan consisting of some woody species and then some herbaceous species. So as the basin is designed here, this is the lower basin that's going to retain water, and the gray shading is really the elevation at which we anticipate the retention of water. It goes up gradient, at which point it crests at the top of the basin and then goes down gradient on the outer side of the basin. In the lower basin here, that would be primarily aquatic and maintain the retention of stormwater as designed, we can't plant any woody species that would compromise the basin itself. So here I have an interbasin native planting plan itemizing a number of native herbaceous species that I think are going to fare pretty well there, and these are plugs. In addition to that, there's installation of native wetland seed mix in here, and this would be maintained and managed in an herbaceous native state of species. Again, it does need to be subject to periodic mowing and maintenance as necessary for stormwater, but ideally we'll have a good native plant community to provide some habitat variation in the forested habitat. And then at the crest of the basin, at the point at which we don't believe there's going to be retaining water, and then down the other gradient, I provided an outer basin planting plan, and this has native shrubs that we would plant in addition to a native herbaceous mix. So this outer area of the basin would be maintained in a native woody and herbaceous plant community. We can't put trees that would grow to maturity, but out here we can put shrubs that would grow to 12 to 15 feet in height and provide woody species diversity in there.
Okay, thank you. I'd missed that.
No, you're welcome.
Eric?
So, it seems like, and I had mentioned this earlier, and thank you for bringing it up, the current location that we have for the arcade. And there was no other place on site to put it. It had to go in its current location. And we allowed it to go in its current location because the entity at that time had already put in a number of 36-inch those concrete posts, the pilings that they put in place, the sonotubes. Now we have it in a new location. So instead of talking about a new amenity for a location where the arcade have to go, since the arcade doesn't have to go in that location, why do we have to put in another amenity there? I say remove it. I say remove those number of 36-inch concrete footings and restore that area back to the way it was. Why do we all of a sudden have to accept a new amenity for an area that we were told could be only for the arcade? There could be no other location. And when did we have that meeting? A year? 2 years ago?
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah, approximately. And here we are. So, and then I hear that there's no master plan, but it seems like every 6 months to a year, there's something new being proposed. And all of it seems to be right up against the resource, right up against it. So, I'm thinking here we have an opportunity to take back some of the wetland encroachment, or I should say resource area encroachment that we had where that existing arcade is, and remove it and restore it back to what it was. Why do we have to allow a new amenity there? Other than that, I have nothing about this, but it's always been a source of contention that it had to go where it was, and we had to, that work had already been done, and to do anything and to restore was going to be more damaging than leaving as it was. I don't necessarily believe that.
So I think those topics would come up when,
We go for modification.
when they come forward with the plan to modify what was previously approved.
But I just want to make everybody understand that, that's the way it was. That's the way we were forced into that. Now we have something else. I don't see us being forced into anything when it comes up again. So, before somebody spends a lot of time and effort in coming up with new plans on what to do with that existing arcade is, they probably want to come back and talk to us first.
So in terms of having
I'm
a
just saying,
conversation about.
A lot of times we see a set of plans and nobody's come in and talked to us about what we think might be, acceptable or not. And then we have to go and try to work back from those plans that have been, put together. And I'm saying before anybody wastes good time and money, they ought to talk to us first.
So have the conversation about what's proposed before a lot of engineering time goes into,
That current arcade location.
okay.
Yep. Yeah, and duly noted, I may have alluded to this the last time you brought this up, Eric, and yeah, I mean, optics are a big thing here. And I understand that your concern is that the
It's frustrating.
It's
frustrating when I got such a large site and everything is so tight and it can't be done anywhere else until it can be. And you guys are before us at least once a year, if not more. Not you, more recently you,
right.
but in the past, I've got a numbers of orders that are open. I keep on opening up new stuff. It's like, where are we going here? And then you tell me I don't have a master plan. It's like, what are we doing?
Right. So again, in response to that, I agree with you, but I think the perception here is that you're this is very much a business. This is a family entertainment center and not a farm. And granted, they have a large acreage of land out there. Most of it is the areas that are utilizable, right? Most of this is natural heritage habitat. They're prevented. So right away, most of the property is not developable at all due to natural heritage habitat. And then within the confines of what they do have to work with, that they've been working with over the course of decades now, is pretty much already utilized. And then you have the constraints of wetlands and working within the parameters of your setbacks and buffer zones. And I don't believe for a second that Kimball Farms has a master plan in mind that they're withholding from you, or that any of this was done on the premises of a malicious.
We could
bait and
require one
switch.
knowing that you want to do something. I look at this and I say, on a site like this, to me, it seems more segmentation than anything else.
Right.
If this came in under one big plan, there'd be a lot, instead of piecemealing and being up against the resource area every time. I'm saying, well, maybe if they don't, they should, because maybe we just
It's a wonderful
a better look and say holistically, what do you want to do here, instead of keep on coming in and building something as big as you can, as close as you can, and then coming back and saying, okay, we're going to do that over here, and then we're going to do that over here. And I'm like, geez, if I.
The reality of it is that there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen and not a great deal of agreement or coordination over future plans and development. And they're constantly, this is no longer just Peter Kimball sitting with a master plan in his mind. It's several entities and operational entities that are vested in this. So
but
it's
I
not,
appreciate that you appreciate our position in that when we look at this, I'm like, hey,
Right.
You're making us bend over backwards, and then all of a sudden here's more. And it's frustrating.
So understood, Eric, and what we can do, again, your position's been noted on the modification for the approved location up front for the arcade and the museum, and we'll have the conversation with ownership prior to modifying that to see if there are future plans that we can start sketching out there. And understood about an informal discussion as well to make sure that we're not going down a path that's ultimately not approvable. So
I don't want to
hear you.
waste anybody's time or money. Neither one of us want to do that.
Agreed.
We both want to come to yes. I agree. And, yeah, really, it doesn't serve either one of us to be at a position to know, so.
Yeah, yeah. No, and it's recognized. I've obviously been in front of you guys over a multitude of Kimball Farm products over the past decade, and yeah, your concerns are credible, and whatever we can do to help.
Do any other members of the commission have comments or questions at this point? Are there?
Just to record the site visit, Margaret, Lauren, Ann and Jim, and myself.
And Noel.
Oh, and Noel. I was like, Noel. I was like, I thought there. Attended the site visit a couple last week before the more snow.
Yeah.
Thank you for catching that, or providing that. Engineering has provided a cleaning review letter. Additionally, I don't think the commission has the most updated plan set that may have gotten submitted to planning.
We can check on that.
Just,
Absolutely.
as we're finishing up, let's make sure we have the, and I'll include engineering's letter for the commission's kind of consideration at the next meeting. Again, just so it's in the public record as well. That Jim has a.
Jim?
At the site visit, you also showed us an old infiltration basin.
Yes.
That's part of some older conditions.
That is, yep. One of the things that we just, while we were out there, I brought up a few. There are, I believe there's a total of 4 outstanding order of conditions that we talked about, and again, why they lingered so long, and you're right. So we have a plan now for the 4 of them that we can execute in the coming year. So one of the basins that was, one of the outstanding orders of conditions was for this parking lot. And at the time that we as-built this parking lot, what was that, 6 years ago, there was I think it was a catch basin, a deep sump catch basin that hadn't been constructed that was specified. And we said, we can't certify that this work is done or complete until that basin is in. It looks like that basin has since been constructed and is now in there. So I think it's a matter of just as-building it now that basin has been constructed and finishing it. I'm trying to remember on this plan.
I think it's about here.
Yeah,
This
where's
is
that's right as we make the turn down the driveway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty much at that corner. I do have all of those. I have the 4 prior plans of record and the 4 prior orders of condition. You have them on file, but I'm happy to send them again to refresh your memory. That was one that is, I think now, as soon as the snow lifts, we can as-built it, update and request that.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 others required plantings that we said that we will have a plan in place to execute those plantings this spring. That's the best we can do is this spring have those planted. And then the 3rd one was actually where the arcade is currently located and under the open order of conditions. Historically, that area had called out for a rain garden to be plotted in that area. And with the design of the current arcade plan that's sort of in suspension right now, is that order of conditions held, and we're coming back to you guys. It has a proposed catch basin in the same location, serving the same stormwater purpose and function. So that almost supersedes it. And we will have, as we come back to this, we will have final stormwater design on, the stormwater as permitted now may not change, but as plans change, it may be revised. But that would be addressed appropriately then. So that's just a brief summary of the 4 outstanding ones.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience? So next steps is to draft orders of conditions?
Yep, I can have that ready for the commission's March 11th. Confirm it, it's the March 11th meeting.
When March 11th, so you're before do you think you'll be complete with the planning board before March 11th? We really hate to issue orders and close before you're done with the other boards.
Yeah, no, understood. So before March 11th, we will have had the opportunity to go back to the planning board, and I can update you on the 11th whether or not they're actively drafting a decision
Okay.
or if there are remaining issues to be resolved. So we should have guidance either way.
So do we want to, so with our draft order of conditions, do we want that to be targeted in the 11th? Or?
That can be.
Okay, so
And Jim had a raise.
Jim?
Are we also going to have set up some kind of a timetable for master plan for the site so that we don't end up with?
Are you requesting that as a special condition of this order?
I don't know, not necessarily of this order, but if it's going to include projects for construction for this arcade, plus the other place that we talked about a year ago, and who knows what else is planned. So is there,
It doesn't sound like they have one.
Right, if I could make a suggestion, we could revisit that when we modify the order.
You guys are going to speak to the owners, right?
So I did, and we don't have anything to share with you, but over the course of the next year to 2 years, as this project gets underway, we will have to make a decision, ownership will have to make a decision on the front site, and at that point in time, when we either modify it or it turns into a restoration plan, we can then, revisit the master plan and try to give you more information.
We won't have additional projects here, and here.
I mean, I can't
That's
promise
not what he's
that.
saying, they're just not sharing it with
That's
us,
what I'm
that's all.
wondering. That's what I'd like to hear, though.
Yeah.
But that's not what they
I can
can share.
share the information that's given to me. And what I can say is that when we go to modify that order or have the discussion prior to modifying it, that can be part of it.
Mhm.
And
So,
I'm hopeful I have something to share at that point in time.
and it sounds, because when you think about it in a business that's going to be evolving over decades, is yes, the farther out in the future you get, the less a master plan becomes concrete. But I think what I'm hearing is when you come back to revise an existing open order, what we want a conceptual plan that gives us an idea of where you're going, so we at least start to know what other pieces are coming down the pipe. That, it may not be something as concrete as this is how we're going to build out an industrial park or an office park, but at least start having some of that mid-range, near-term and mid-range visibility to what's going to happen.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, concept planning for the next 3-5 year outlook or something to that effect.
Okay. I think that's a good place to start. So we will have a draft order of conditions for the March 11th meeting, and that works for you guys?
It does.
Okay. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to March 11th?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you,
time.
everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Moving on to our 7:20 PM agenda item. It's a continuation of a public hearing for new 219 Littleton owner LLC, 219 Littleton Road.
Hey guys, hey, good luck.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I am Katie Cruz from Hancock Associates. I'm a civil engineer. I thought I'd reintroduce our project team. I'm here with attorney Melissa Robbins, Elizabeth Bejo from Redgate, the proponent. And tonight we have Sean Sanger from Copley Wolf, who is our landscape architect for the project. I wanted to provide a brief update on our stormwater and civil peer review. That is still underway, and we're hoping that it will be wrapped up soon. I wanted to thank all of you for sending your comments last week. That was really helpful for us to see all of them, and we'd like to talk about them some more tonight. I think we'd probably like to hold off on comments relating to stormwater until we receive the peer review, just to see what their comments are and if anything needs to change as a result of that. I also wanted to touch on the discussion last week about the work proposed in the limit of work and limit of build zones. I wanted to remind us all that roof area is considered clean runoff. That's in the BEP's stormwater handbook. And our project team have discussed some ways to address your comments, particularly about the interaction between the backs of the buildings and the wetlands. And our thoughts are to provide more of a barrier to prevent foot traffic that may extend into the wetlands. We have a few ideas in mind for ways to do that. It would probably be a mix of a split rail fence in some locations, vegetation and plantings that would really make it difficult to walk through. So it would be a seed mix that grows several feet high. It could be shrubs, just to provide a physical barrier there, along with signage, educating the public about the wetlands and trash receptacles. And then additionally to that, we heard concerns about the area behind Building B. Reminder on this plan, that's in the lower right, in the proximity to that wetland back there. And our thought there was that we would remove all of the proposed work that is within the 30-foot limit of build zone. So that would include removing the walkway that goes around the wetland and the hammock area back there, as well as moving the garage that's extending over that line to another location on site that would not be in the local buffer zones, and shifting the other garage out of that zone. And this plan, we've also kind of hatched in areas to try to explain what would be mitigated or restored area, so area that's currently paved that we would plant with natural materials, and then also show the small amounts of work that are proposed beyond that existing edge of pavement line. That on this plan, the edge of pavement is the blue line. The limit of the proposed work is the red line. The restored areas are hatched in green, and the new disturbed areas in orange. And with that, I think that's all we had for discussion this evening, but we would really like to hear from the rest of the commissioners on your comments and get your thoughts and try to gain information from you and what your feedback is.
You know, again, this whole site is a redevelopment site. Nothing here. So why are these buildings up against the wetlands, up against the resource area and not the parking? Again, you know, I don't understand why we have to have, you know, buildings within the 55-foot, you know, limit where you're not supposed to have buildings. Again, I don't see much change from what we saw.
Right, so this is the same plan that,
and again, I have buildings and I have areas, and people are gonna be playing in them, and they're gonna be thinking they're their own personal use areas, exclusive use areas. And, you know, it's just too close. Why aren't these buildings further away? You know, why don't we, you know, parking wouldn't be as close, but I'd prefer to be parking. And I know we had the discussion earlier, but, you know, with stormwater, it's completely enclosed and trapped, so I wouldn't expect any, you know, runoff from the parking to be getting into the resource areas untreated to a point where it was having an issue. Where we've seen in the past, when you build so close to a resource area like that, it gets degraded. Especially the way you have it designed here, where people have decks and there's greenery, and that's going to be the area that they're going to want their kids to play in, because they're not going to want to be playing out in the parking lot. So, you know, those areas are going to see intense use, and that's just going to degrade the resource and the buffer. So again, I don't know why you didn't come to the commission prior to and discuss a layout that would be more amenable and at least would meet the setback requirements for, proposed alteration of the site. I don't get it. And I don't know why we are being forced to have to discuss this when this current project doesn't meet the minimum setback requirements for this type of project.
So,
I mean, why are we forced to discuss this? I mean, they could have come to us and we would have told them, other places that we thought were more appropriate, and we could have come to, and had discussion on what we thought would be amenable and what wasn't. We didn't have that discussion. They came in with this proposal, and if it's not acceptable to us, then, I'm thinking that's somewhat on them for not coming to us before and having discussion.
no.
Could you remind me the lines, what the distances mean?
So,
You can zoom in, Matt.
Yeah, I'll go into this one just because it's a larger.
Which is the 55, which is the 30.
so the green line on this plan,
What?
Jobs is no longer there.
the green line on this plan is the limit of the BVW. That's the wetland. The orange peachish line, that's the 30-foot limit of work. The yellow line is the 55-foot limit of building. And then the purple line is the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland.
And could you show us the other one, Matt?
Oh, over here as well. So bordering vegetated wetland.
Peach is, what's the peach again?
The 30-foot.
30-foot.
That's a no build, right?
Correct.
Or no disturb?
Well,
That's normally our no disturb buffer.
right, no disturb. And then the 55 is the yellow, which is the no build.
And the blue line on this plan is the limit of existing pavement.
So, in looking through the different plan sets, what we usually see on the plan is a limit of disturbance. So there's something, and it can, you give us an existing conditions plan, and then you have this resource area plan. For the plan of record, one of the things that we want to see is a limit of disturbance. So we see the edge where you say, this is the point beyond which no equipment's going to be moving, no work is going to be performed. So that there's something very clear for us, for the project contractor to know, and there's a demarcation as well, so that we know that equipment is not going to get closer to the wetland than is proposed, because there's something that tells the guy or girl driving the truck or whatever, this is where you stop. That is not on this plan. So I find that very helpful in terms of understanding where disturbance will be limited to. One of the things that I had looked at was I had looked at the planting plan, because that kind of tells me how what you're planting is going to complement or supplement what's in the natural vegetation that's around the resource area. And what I'm seeing, actually, Matt, can you go all the way over to the side, is when I start to look, okay, so this is a new plan.
This was revised and received today.
Okay, so this one has the edge of woods, and it doesn't, okay, because the other plan was showing seeded lawn going right down to the edge of the wetlands, and that was kind of very much at odds with the way the project was being presented. So that was where I was looking for clarification. So I really would like, part of my review, part of my questions is seeing what's that limit of disturbance? So that it's very clear where you're not going to be doing work. That gives us an idea, because when I looked at the erosion control plan, you have staked hay bales at the edge of pavement. And my understanding is that that erosion control will be in place through the entire course of the project, correct?
Typically, yes.
Yes.
Or until stabilized.
So part of me is wanting, I see the erosion control, and then I look at some of the elements of the plan, and I say, okay, well, with some of those garages that are actually beyond the edge of pavement, you're going to need to be doing work. And so this is where I'm starting to see that the plans don't have enough detail for me to be able to look at it and say, yes, it's all very clear, the plans agree. We're not going to have an issue where one contractor is looking at one plan and does X, and another contractor working on site looks at a different sheet and does Y, and we start to have issues. So I'm kind of.
Yeah, that's really helpful feedback. And I think on this plan, we have to go as close as the existing pavement just to remove it.
Yep.
So it's going to look like the erosion controls are close, just so that area can be restored.
Yeah, and for me, it was, some of it is realizing that you may continue to do work as far as the edge of the pavement. What I'm really looking for, is there an indication that work is going to be occurring beyond the edge of pavement? Because that's where you're increasing the encroachment in the vicinity of the, closer to the wetland. And so that's what I'm looking at, that's what I'm trying to quantify, and it just, looking at all the pieces and trying to figure out how they fit together.
I mean, was any consideration given to a plan that didn't come so close to the resource area? I mean, why this plan? I mean, I can see why, maybe on the inside, why you wanted to be able to look at, the resource area from the interior of the way the buildings are. But, other than that, maybe aesthetically, giving those interior ones a little more of that, what was the rationale?
Well,
I mean, you
largely
must have known that you were gonna, would come in being a redevelopment.
Right.
And the entire site, being redevelopment.
Right.
But then coming as close as you can. I'm gotta think that, with the parking and a different layout, you wouldn't be coming up and building these buildings so close to the resource and, coming in areas that, exceed our requirements. And I just don't know why.
Well, largely, I think you nailed it right there, Eric, that this is a redevelopment site. So when we looked at it, we looked at the edge of pavement, we looked at the area of the existing wetlands. The existing wetlands are actually quite easy to see out here because they basically are paved up to the edge of the resource areas. So when we're looking at the existing site, we looked at the existing edge of pavement, and then we looked at what we wanted to develop. Now, some of the areas of the site we're married to. So like the wastewater treatment facility.
Oh, yeah,
So that's a large
yeah.
driving force, right? So the first piece is the area there that's the parking lot that's behind the historical building. So we keep the historical building, we keep the parking lot behind it, and then we try to design around it, keeping within the boxes where we've already previously developed, where the edge of pavement already is. Now, I understand that you feel as though the parking might have more impacts to the resource area than the structures, but we feel exactly the opposite. So I think that's a discussion we could have.
That's not what, our regulations say, we want buildings and everything further away, and we would allow parking somewhat closer, because we believe that parking doesn't have as much impact as the buildings, because all of the other activities that goes on with kids and maintaining and creep and all of that. And we've seen that
right.
in a number of instances. So, regardless of what restrictions you could put in and what the order of conditions say and what you're going to tell homeowners and all of that, and that's all great. When push comes to shove, they're doing it.
Right.
Regardless of where you write it down, regardless of what folks tell them they can and can't do, they're going to do what they want to do.
Right.
And that's just what we've seen in practice. So, I don't come to you saying what I say without seeing it in, you know, in the real and saying, okay, here's a project in the past that we tried this, and here's where it's failed. And here's where it's failed again. And here we are, and I see the same thing, and here's where it's gonna fail again. And that's why I'm like, well, you know, maybe we try something different. And in the past, we've just kept people further away. You know, when I've looked at other projects, you know, we're further away than they are here.
Eric, can I just speak to that quickly? Two things. We're not a pristine project site, so I mean, we start from that basis. So, secondly, I agree with you with some frustration, even in projects that I've worked in, that there's been creep beyond, even into open space, into conservation restriction area, especially, I see it more with home ownership projects.
A perfect example is further up the road on 110, where they did the redevelopment where the auto junkyard was.
Across from
19 Little.
Oh, 19 Little.
Yeah, okay. So you look at that one, and I remember us talking about making sure that we had, you know, not only the buildings, but I believe the deck and all that stuff is still outside the 55. You know, and I look at how we laid some of that out, and we did some of that because we've had other projects in the past that were closer, and we, you know, learned from, you know, what we've seen, and we've tried to keep places and that development further back. And that, I considered that a redevelopment because it was, you know, a junkyard basically. So I'm thinking it was under the same restrictions as this one was.
It was the only site I'd ever been out to pre-development that sparkled from the front to the back. So I agree with you. But I will also say that these are home ownership projects, okay? So you have individual homeowners, they do whatever the heck they want in their backyard and they get to control certain portions of their property. This is different in that it's a rental project. So you have one entity, one management company, they control everything. There's one landscaper. There's not, you know, 300 people out here mowing their lawns or saying what their kids can do. There's one company that maintains it all. I understand your frustration with the rear there, and that's why we're already trying to work out everything out of that 35-foot zone.
You know what we're trying to do.
Yes, I know exactly what you're trying to do. And it gets
frustrating when we're like, okay, now we're forced into a position where we're having these discussions, and I felt like, well, maybe if we had met beforehand, you know, some of this could have been resolved beforehand, and here we are. And God, I've been doing this for over 30 years. It gets kind of frustrating because I've had this discussion before.
Well, and Eric, with these enclosed garage units that are kind of around some of the perimeter, what would your feeling be if the backside of those was around this wetland instead? So it's less likely to be a place that people are going to go.
This is set up for people to play and enjoy that. And that's what intensifies. So if anything, I'm looking at trying to keep activities away from the resource. Where here it's like, okay, it's an amenity, I get it, it's an amenity, they want to walk close to it, you know, they want to have their porches facing it if they can.
It's attractive to look at.
Yeah, but all of that adds to what we're trying to keep from happening, which is, you know, cumulative adverse impacts to the resource area.
Yeah, where my question was coming was if some of those garage buildings could be relocated to this area, does that free up space that you could, you know, does that make it a little bit easier to reconfigure, for example, where the buildings are put?
Where are you talking about putting them?
Basically, yeah, it's just that some of the ones up to the north, if they were kind of stacked around this little stick out wetland.
Which what, this wetland you're talking about?
Yes.
All right. I mean, I think what Eric's trying to do is try to keep this farther back.
Right, but I'm thinking.
There's just not much.
And she's saying if they put the garages there or something.
The three up along the top of the plane, if those were kind of.
They're like trailers, those garages, the private garages, it's sort of like a.
No, they're actual structures, but I will tell you, this plan, we are going to make a revision to this plan already, which is to remove that walkway completely. So everything you see now from behind that garage building and even that portion of the garage, we're suggesting. Oh, you know that I'm just as bad at this. I'm sorry when I blind somebody.
I was just saying, just don't look.
No, we're not even red. Here, I'm gonna let the engineer do it. The walkway there that runs behind the building, we're gonna completely eliminate. It's green now, Matt. So I think you've sabotaged me. There we go. So that's gonna all be gone. We're just gonna eliminate it, because I think that this is the more sensitive resource area. So from your comments from the last meeting, our suggestion is just to get it all out of there, to your point.
Including the snow storage?
Everything will be out of that area, so it will basically end right at the corner, so nothing will be in that orange line whatsoever. And we'll pull the decks back, and if we're worried about creeps in the decks, there's other things we can do back there. We can fence in the decks, we can make them no access, so I think back there, we have some leeway here to get rid of a lot of the open space amenities that would go towards the creek, especially towards that, what I think of a more precious or pristine wetland heading towards that area. The wetland to the back, I think we need to be a little bit more creative with, and we would like to keep that trail around it. I think it actually is an asset to keep it closer to the resource area while trying to stay out of that pavement area to the extent that we already are. And then we can do some plantings, do some fence, do some signage, and just make sure that people aren't going in there. On top of the signage that Katie's suggesting, we can use the conservation signage and do a mix there. So, I think that what we'd like is an opportunity to show that we can keep people out of the back by doing some of those alternatives, and then behind Building B, we'll just stay out completely.
So, question.
Mm-hmm.
I know sometimes this one's hard to do, current existing conditions, am I this close to that resource area?
The blue line, I think, is what is, and I'll let you use the pointer. So
'Cause it's not like you can do an overlay.
No, but, well,
we could, I think we could create, we could create a plan that better maybe shows a grade area of what's
Well, if you show
existing.
me what was there, like, I hear what you're saying, it's a redevelopment, and I've got restrictions. And if you're showing me, well, this area is already, things are,
Right.
it'll give me some idea, well, are they being more intensive here or less
Right.
intensive?
Yes.
Than what and then
Right.
it helps me make my decision.
We can do that, and we can, come back with some of the more enhanced barriers, especially to that rear wetland, because I think what we'll do in the more pristine wetland, for lack of my expert term here, is just eliminate the recreational uses down there. It doesn't need to be there. We can connect where we have this trail system that we're trying to run around the edge of the property. We can actually end it almost where Matt's pointer is, and just run people to the sidewalk and really just end it somehow, Eric, there, so that people just don't go back to the resource area whatsoever. Which is kind of what is there now. If you go out to the Regency site now, when you look at the parking arrangement they have signage to the rear, but then in the front, they actually have a fence right along that wetland line so that people just stay out of it. So we'll be respectful of that and come back with a better approach to that wetland. And then we can do that overlay plan, so it's very, very clear to, Madam Chair's point and to Mr. Chair, Vice Chair's point. We can make it a lot clearer as to what's disturbed today and what we're seeking to disturb and where we're improving. Remove some of this lineage and take out some of the details of the building. I think it'd make it a lot more clearer about what our actual impacts to the wetlands are, so you can.
It would be helpful to the discussion.
Yeah, no, I think that's good.
And distances would help too.
And distances, okay.
Like, just 75 feet away,
Right.
whatever, right?
Right. Yeah, I think I can see what your point, that the multiple lines here can get a little lost, so we could do that.
There's a lot of lines right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of lines right there, so we can do that.
One of the things to feed in also is Tadmuck Meadows, which is the other direction on 110.
Yeah.
That there was a development there where the buildings were very close to the no disturb area, and what we've started to hear from the homeowners is you've got birches. I get predominantly,
trees are growing again.
but trees that grew up, and during the ice storms, the flexible trees were actually leaning over onto the buildings. So some of this is where you're doing your planting trees. Obviously, you're going to pick trees that you're going to top out at 15 feet, so you don't have to deal with that. But where you're close to a wooded buffer around a resource area, that's where you run the risk of the trees growing up and then falling. Or not even just falling. It was very
Well, they came back to us and they were looking for relief and they wanted to take
Right,
those trees.
because-
And that made us think, well, geez, are we gonna allow somebody to build that close to the resource area? And while the arguments were good, the trees grew up and then, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they just got ice covered, so they leaned, and the people have these trees leaning on their balconies.
Right.
You know, and it's like, you know,
No, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
if you want, I know we've discussed this a little while tonight, but we do have our landscape architect here, and we do have some tree details back there, so
No,
if
you
you
can hear
want.
you can hear the discussion
Sean,
and he'll make recommendations based on that.
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
But
no,
no.
we understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I can just quickly.
Yeah.
Sean Sanger over at Copley Wolf. The street trees and the trees that we're proposing, we don't have any birds on here, but we are really pulling those tree species from the local street tree ordinance. So a lot of these, we're also trying to be really sensitive and look at the vegetation that's there. We're trying to just kind of supplement that as well as trying to introduce anything really new. So most of these are going to be, for the most part, deciduous canopy trees. We are introducing some native understory ornamentals. Likewise, we're looking for that seasonal color and interest, and likewise with some scale as we're getting closer to some of the buildings. So we are getting a mix. They're all natives. We're trying to be really sensitive to that. But one other thing I want to mention, just because we've talked about it a little bit, just kind of reiterate the pathway that we're kind of showing, regardless of where that is on the plan. We're basically proposing, I think we've got a section that came out of the conversation that we weren't here last time, but essentially we'll have the path. Then we're looking at having essentially a 2-foot mow zone directly adjacent to that, and then it would essentially kind of transition into your, what I'm going to call no mow, no touch, and that's far enough back, but we're going to use that as another means, in addition to the fence and some of the shrubs, as a means of basically kind of staying out and.
Here you walk and here you.
Exactly, and really kind of mowing that maybe once a year. We certainly want to talk with you guys about that, but we want to be able to control it from the invasives, and to be able to keep those woodies from getting out of control, the bittersweet and the other vines that can happen if nothing is done. So obviously trying to find a balance there of getting nobody in there. We like the idea of the height. We love the idea of the mow strip, keeping that really limited. People are out there with kids or with dogs. It just kind of keeps the ticks and everything else in the taller grasses, but we get at least a manicured edge that's directly there, and then we kind of go into the more natural zone, getting much closer to everything. And the other piece that I do want to mention is the signage we talked about. We love that idea. We want to be staunch supporters of the wetlands, what they do as far as an environmental cycle process, the importance of them, what they do, what they, birds, habitat, water quality, all of that stuff is really good. And I think those could be introduced into signage that would be educational and hopefully give people an importance of what those things are there for.
Get people bird watching.
Exactly.
Thank you for your comments, because you reminded me of something that I don't think I said to Matt. There was some talk about that this walkway would be open to the public.
Correct.
And then I had raised the question about what will you do in terms of maintaining it in the winter? And there was some talk about shutting it down. My thought is you're probably going to not have people, you're probably going to have people show up and use it anyway, so don't think that you can say, oh, it's winter now, it was nice, come see us in the spring, because you may have, if it's open to the public, you may have people who are not renters here coming to use it, and that may be a challenge for the management company. But also, if you're letting the public come here, have you thought about needing to provide additional parking and basically telling those people where they can park so they're not parking in the residents' favorite parking spot?
Yeah, I don't want to speak to the parking. I'll let Liz do that, but I can speak briefly, and please interject. So the notion of it not being open in the winter, I think the intent was, well, not today, but if it was another winter, another early or later in the year where it's not snow covered, people could be out there walking on it, on the path.
Yeah,
But the idea, we're really proposing this to be a permeable surface. We're looking at it to be stabilized stone dust. So somebody being out there with a bobcat or a shovel is going to destroy that surface, and you're going to have a lot of repair work on a regular basis. So the idea of getting a good, stable, permeable surface for people to use.
So
I'm
something
trying to find a
that's-
balance there.
I'm thinking in
And fully
terms of.
accessible, I got to say that as well.
But something that is not, in the, when we have some snow and then rain and then ice, is part of it is if you end up, is it a surface that potentially ends up having icy patches and just in terms of a maintenance complication? You know,
Yeah, we
just-
definitely want to be very sensitive to that. I
Yeah,
understand.
and that was where my question
Yeah.
was going.
No, thank you very much. All right, so I think we have a little homework to do. Does the commission have any more comments this evening? Any
Thanks
other
for the
comments?
discussion.
No,
Yeah.
no,
You answered some good
Yeah,
good
and
dialogue.
yeah, no, and I appreciate you guys hearing us every couple weeks because we want to progress this and we want to make sure that we're making the changes as we go along.
And Melissa, could I ask one thing?
Oh,
Sorry,
sure.
while we're here, because I think this is awesome, you guys are all here, and I was seeing comments that came in from Matt, and I don't know that he was the author of them. Maybe they came from the broader group and he got them distributed to us, but could I ask one question about lighting? In particular, I think we've talked about lighting. One thing that is, from our perspective, and please tell us if we're in the ballpark, if we're off base, which would be really good, so as we come back to you guys. So the lights that we have proposed in the parking lot are full cutoff fixtures, which is good as far as keeping dark sky. What we've talked about, and there was, I think, a concern about how much spill would be going into the natural areas. So we have the ability, most of those lights currently along that path would be on the, I'll call it the wetland or the nature side of the path. What we were proposing to do is have those fixtures there with a full cutoff on the back. So all of that light would be pushed forward, which would essentially be to the building side or the parking lot side. So we thought that was a good thing, but I would be really curious to hear your comments. And then we also talked about the potential of maybe along that pathway, we could turn those lights on to timers so that they're not on at 3 in the morning. And it's really, we don't probably want people walking around there crazy hours of the day as well. So I just wanted to just get your sense of some of the lighting comments that we heard.
So I don't know if those were from me or the member who's absent.
Yeah, maybe from the member who's
Well,
not here.
But in terms of, from my perspective, was the pickleball court, the overlook up in that upper left corner there, is if people are out there around dusk or they're out there early in the morning, just some of it is what's, would there be lighting for it? The other thing too is, could you look into motion sensor as opposed to timers? And I mean, maybe birds will set off the motion, but I was thinking a little bit about lighting, because if there are places that are set up for people to sit or whatever, are they going to want lights? And, if they're out there in the evening.
Okay. All right, this is really good just to get the feedback. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And before we go too far, are there any comments or questions from members of the audience? Because I have to ask. Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I think what we'd like to do is, we understand the task that you have for us, so we'll go back, get those drawings together, and then we'd ask to come back to your March 11th meeting just to move the discussion forward. And then hopefully we'll have our stormwater review from Ty and Bond at that time as well.
Okay.
That was gonna be my question. was
Yes,
where
we
storm-
expect it. I expect it any day now.
Okay. So can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to March 11th?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, that'd be fantastic. Thank you, Melissa.
Okay. So moving on to our 7:30 PM agenda item, it's an appointment with Park Rod.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They're walking in.
Yep, here they come. Time to change gears.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you guys.
Hello. Hi there.
Oh, thank you. So we've come to provide an update today about where we are in terms of parkrun. So if we go to the routing slide.
And your names.
Oh, sorry. Lydia Turkson.
I'm Stefan Gopal, 19 Robinson Ray.
And we're co-directors of the event. So where we are, we have submitted a variety of documents to Parkrun, and they have provided us a public liability and insurance certificate. They've approved our risk assessment. The route the route that we selected was running around the track at Stony Brook School and then into the woods along the Wakey Trail, and then the turn point being where Depot Street? I always say Depot Street or Depot Road, Depot Street parking is. We're suggesting that we turn on the green and then go back.
Can you zoom in? Make it
go back the way we came, basically.
Okay.
So if you just move the slide up a bit, there's a grassy area here with a series of poles that are fenced in. So the suggestion here, the request of the commission, is to cut a 6-foot gap to allow runners in and turn around on the green and then go back up the existing path.
Do you know that that meadow is not mowed? So through the course of the summer, the grass will get tall. When the Camp Neshoba is rented out on the weekend, that's used for overflow parking. So sometimes on a Saturday, you could encounter cars parked, cars coming in and leaving that area. So that's something to think about. But what would it also, once you had basically said, we're going to go out and come back the same route, one of the things is where when you come the access road from Camp Waukee down to the parking area, there's a gate there just before you enter the parking area where your participants will have to go around the 2 gate posts.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of, I didn't know whether you had thought through the logistics of what it's going to be like for people to basically have to slow down and navigate. Yeah, Matt, I went out with my snowshoes this afternoon.
Right, okay. So where is this?
So this is there's typically the chain that had been cut a couple weeks ago. Nice to see that. It's just foot traffic going up presently.
Yeah. So I think I know what you mean now. The chain as you're coming up to the end of Wakey.
Yeah.
So what we would have to do, what we'd have to request, is to be able to open that chain to turn people around onto the green, and then they would go back up that path. I mean, the other alternative might be to turn at that chain if we're not able to, kind of get access to open it up. Turn at that chain so people would run down this side, see the chain. We'd have a steward there just to direct people across to the other side, and then they would move up and run back on the left-hand side. So that might equally be the way to do it without disturbing the...
And that way you're not getting, people are not at all going into where the parking and traffic
that's a good
is.
suggestion, that would work.
Yeah, that basically you stay on the access road side.
Yeah.
That keeps you separated. It's going to be really hard on the guy who's going to try and set his personal record from a time perspective, but you're looking at these trails, they don't necessarily lend themselves to speed.
Yeah. And it's about participation, so it's great. We will track the times, but it's about participation and being part of a community, and we're very clear on that. But that's a great suggestion. So we could also have some little bollards there just to emphasize if someone's running so fast, they see, hey, the turn point's coming up. And we could have a little turning lane there, but we would have a steward standing there as well, just to make
That
sure
everybody goes around the same direction.
Aware, so that they're aware of the convention of running to the right and then turning around and then running up to the left. So that would work because it's also consistent with the risk assessment too. There's nothing new there.
And from a logistics standpoint of keeping the gate locked, that's certainly advantageous on from my end of it.
Okay, great. The other aspect, if we go back to the previous, back to the map slide, there may be, and again I don't know because everything's covered in snow, but once the snow is melted, there may be some areas that need a little repair. And again, I'm remembering that we had the offer of a donation from Ideal Block. So depending on what the trails looked like, but I know in the permission statement, the permission was it's offered as is. But I'm just making the commission aware there may be some areas that we as volunteers could choose to help repair.
And in seeing that comment there, one of the things that reminded me is the cross-country teams will tend to come, the coaches will tend to do I guess they run or they walk, but they do a checkout of the trail as well, and they will feed back to Matt that, oh, here are some of these, here are some areas where, like the one up where the trail turns there, that, yes, I can remember they've highlighted that in the past, that needs to be addressed so that the cross-country teams, well, no, that if it's something where, for example, there's a significant step off and it's deemed to be a potential risk for the teams, they've come to Matt and said, and Matt will work with DPW to basically get that addressed. And I don't know, Matt, but my thought was if Park Run is doing the same evaluation, if Park Run's evaluations, requests, and et cetera, mirror what the cross-country teams are doing, that's probably the best way to handle it.
Mm-hmm. It benefits, it benefits all of us, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
It kind of benefits the cross-country teams too, to keep them safe. But yeah, happy to, and just to highlight, Ideal Block may be able to contribute some of the materials so it doesn't cost anything. And would DPW do the work then?
I think it would be it would be unlikely. I know they maintain, they've occasionally done work within kind of the trolley line easement. I don't think they do much, especially on the trails or, again, that side of the camp is fairly not utilized by the outside of, walkers and,
Well,
so I don't think it gets.
the cross-country, the wacky trail?
Oh, no, but I don't think I don't think the cross-country teams may have done, spot maintenance, but I don't recall DPW in recent history doing really anything
Okay. So
on the property on that side. It's been primarily this stretch of.
So I'd be happy to do it. I'd be happy to get a bunch of volunteers to do it.
Who has any responsibility? Like, if you guys have, who does any maintenance on this land if it was needed? Us aside, I'm just kind of wondering, when you have a giant tree that comes down
We end up asking.
Is it all volunteer?
It's either volunteers or the Department of Public Works, depending upon
or
the size. Yeah, or the contractor.
A contractor, if we need
Right.
a tree requires an aerial crane or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, do we have a contact from the coaching staff of the cross-country teams who can basically give some guidance as to what their process has been for assessing the trail before the start of the training session?
Typically, my communication is through the athletic director, but I can kind of start that.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that maybe is a good touch point in terms of, what their process is, and if we can kind of incorporate you in, so that we're using the same process for both groups of participants.
And we may have actually met some of them because
Yeah.
we were connected with the
I'm
cross-country
connected. I
team.
remember
Okay.
the cross-country team coach at Westford Academy.
Okay.
Absolutely. And again, for any kind of weather incidents, we'll check the trail in the morning. That's one of the checks we'll do. We'll run the trail just to check if there are fresh trees down or anything like that. But I agree, if we could dovetail into that maintenance. And if we need a team of volunteers, I can get some volunteers to do it, and I'll do it myself if I need to. But at least we get the materials.
And with that April 4th date, you may want to say weather permitting.
Weather permitting, so depending on, that was a placeholder effectively
Mhm.
now, because based on what we decided of this turning point, which I think we've solved, Margaret, great idea. I think we're more in line for the 11th or the 18th.
Watch out, you're pointing that at his head.
Oh, sorry. We're more in line for the 11th or the 18th of April.
Well, but just, I have lived through my share of April snowstorms.
Have you?
So yes, April
Just
is,
keep us as,
You know, April
spring
is
rolls
not
along,
necess-
please just keep us.
yeah, April is not necessarily spring-like.
Weather committing, weather
Yeah.
committing.
Noel?
So there was a question once about limiting the number of runners or
Mhm.
walkers. Is there anything like that you're putting in place for this initial run? or-
So we took that away, didn't we? That was
Well,
minuted in
because-
one of the meetings.
One of the things that we learned through the iteration is people register because they're interested in this particular route, but they do not register for it on a particular day. So if we cap the number at 40, it's 40 people are interested, but there's
No way.
there's
There's no way you
nothing,
can regulate
there's nothing
what
that
comes
links
on the day.
registering for
Yes,
Stony Brook
specifically.
Conservation Area with appearing on a particular day. So there's just kind of like, we can't limit, there's no way to systemically limit the number of participants on a given day.
But what we can do every week, so we run on a Saturday, we'll put the stats up, we'll get a website, we get a website from Parkrun and we can run the stats. So every Sunday, we'll upload how many people actually came and participated. So we talked about coming back to the commission on a regular basis, depending on, what you consider as regular, just to give some numbers to feedback on, hey, there were 20 people, or now we're seeing 30 or 40.
Or just even sending the stats once a month
Send
to
stats
Matt.
in, however you want
Yeah,
to do it. We can
and then
report
have
it
an
to you.
end of season wrap-up meeting with us.
Happy to.
Yeah, kind of a,
Yeah, we could do that.
see how it all worked.
Yeah, this was the landowner permission that was executed in August. So, yeah, there was no, to Margaret's point, remove the maximum number of participants.
Because effectively, you get this passport, you get this code or number that is your unique park run number. So I could go to any park run and participate.
So you don't even have to tell us you're interested in this one. You could be from California, you happen to be in Westford.
When you get your number, when you register, you have to register for park run anyway, but when you register and when we advertise this, we say, hey, there's a new park run at Stony Brook, and you can stipulate that's your park run, that's your home base, if you like.
Okay.
That's your home base park run. So that could give us some stats about how many people are interested before we even set the event.
Okay, so people can set us up as their primary
As a
location.
home, yeah.
But if somebody is in town for any reason, then they find out, they could come along as well.
They could, correct. So it's the statistics every Sunday that we can report to give you an indication of how many people actually came. It's exciting.
Nothing? Any comments or questions from members of the audience?
Member.
Member.
Okay, so where are we now?
So, I mean, again, based upon the discussion, if they're gonna turn around at the gate, doesn't need to be opened, no gap needs to be cut in the timber telephone pole, demarcating it.
You mean POLE poles?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Two places, I wasn't sure.
So, I mean,
ChatGPT.
just let us know when, you guys actually are commencing, and that'd be from a logistics standpoint, that's just so I can
come out and participate in the first event.
Were there any
too
questions
far away.
regarding the insurance?
I need to follow up with the town manager's office on that.
That was the only
Yeah,
other
that's a town manager's office type
But
thing.
if you're going in communications with the athletic director, that if as long as Matt's in that loop,
Yeah.
I think that keeps us informed of what's going on.
Okay,
Okay.
Awesome.
sounds good.
But they don't run track, they don't run in the spring.
No, but in terms of the process that they go through for route evaluation,
Right.
you know, they've got a process that works. If we can have Park Run using the same process to communicate to us, that way we're not kind of trying to come up with a new
Absolutely.
process
Yeah.
when we've already got one that works.
Absolutely. And then we'll also communicate if we see any obstacles on the track on our Saturday morning pre-run, we will indicate, we'll follow that process. Or I remember it was, I met with Westford Conservation Trust. They have a website where I log incidents if there's a tree falling across the path.
Yeah.
So again, we'll dovetail into existing processes there.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully the snow melts.
Fingers crossed, I will let you know when we, weather permitting, when we start.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Moving on to our 7:40 PM agenda item, it's an appointment with Westford Land Preservation Foundation for the transfer of Stony Brook Conservation Area Conservation Restriction.
Thank you. Give my knees a minute to get there. I'm there in spirit. Thank you so much for putting this on your agenda. So, as we get to the finish line here with all the paperwork that is far more than we thought that it would be, to disband the Westford Land Preservation Foundation and transfer the CR to Sudbury Valley, we're almost there. All the papers have been filed with the state. So now the technicality that we need to do with the Conservation Commission is to make sure that all of the issues we've discussed with you in the last year and a half are codified and in one document so that Sudbury Valley trustees will know exactly where we stand. And the issues that we discussed, which were in my email to Margaret last week, were the decisions about transporting the campers up to the camp. We'd had several meetings. Jim attended those, as did Margaret. The decision with the DPW about how the road would be maintained since it cannot be paved. Whether or not it's time to create an advisory board now that there is no more Friends of the East Boston camps. Should there be a cadre of volunteers from the town? And we have a list of at least 3 people who are interested in that decision. And then the last one is who the caretaker is and how that works. I see no message on the bulletin board downstairs and nothing about the RFP. So we need to get all of those on one piece of paper about the status of all of those. Maybe Margaret and Jim, since you've sort of been the contacts on this, if you could help Matt draft that letter, but we'd love to have that done within the month so that we can hand that to Sudbury Valley trustees. And I'm not sure, I don't know if decisions have been made on all of those, so I thought we could just tick them through tonight and just see if any of them are still pending or if all of these decisions have been made.
And thank you very much for your letter, Ellen. Matt and I had kind of been going back and forth on drafting the document. What I have here is as a working version is in the meeting last fall on October 14th, 2025, between representatives from Teamworks, yourself, Matt from town staff, Jim Gazzo and I representing the Conservation Commission, and Ellen Hardy representing Westford Land Preservation Foundation. It was confirmed by a review of the CR, Section 3, Prohibited Actions and Uses, number 6, which is using off-road and similar motorized vehicles, including snowmobiles, all-terrain vehicles, and motorcycles, except for emergency vehicles, and those owned or operated by the grantor or its agents for maintenance of the premises. That was a prohibited activity, and that wording, through that wording, transportation of campers by vehicle from the gate to Camp Neshoba and Camp Cielo is not a prohibited activity because it's not one of a passenger vehicle is not one of those things. So that would be what we would the language for the first one. For the second one,
Well, beyond that, Teamworks came up with 3 options about how they could get the campers up there. And they said that their favorite was option number 2, which was what did they call it? It was a wonderful term, a perfect compromise. So shouldn't we be citing specifically what Teamworks said they were going to, if they are in fact?
I mean, I think initially they were, as this discussion was starting, but in that October meeting, you know, they, again, that's an expense on their, that's an expense on them, the logistical issues that it does create. But it's not,
Well,
it's not prohibited in the conservation
I understand that,
restriction.
but in the contract that you signed with Teamworks, what agreement do you have with them in writing about how they get the campers up there? There must be something.
This year, nothing.
I'm sorry?
This year, nothing. We don't have a signed contract.
You do not?
No, we do not.
for the
Okay.
next, we're still working through the details for the contract for the next 5 years. But you do bring up a point that they had said they have a lot of their campers, it's multiple children from the same family, so that gives them, in essence, some carpooling, but they are also encouraging carpooling to the extent possible to reduce the number of vehicles, so that it's not one child, one car.
So that's the kind of specificity
Yeah.
that we need to have, not just to quote back what the CR says, but how we have applied that wording for this particular situation. And
Okay, that's a good thing that we can incorporate in as well. Jim, I don't know if you have other recollections from that conversation? That I don't want to put you on the spot. If you have other recollections, if you can feed them back into Matt as well, so that we can incorporate that into the response.
Okay, and obviously make sure that Teamworks.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, and I think they would, they would like to do that as much as well.
Okay, so it would be the option 2 is the one that I think we had all discussed that day that we were all together.
I don't,
I mean, again, I think when my recollection of that meeting was if that's not a requirement of the conservation restriction with which, with which the camp operator and the town as the commission as the entity having care and custody, that they don't meet, we have not pursued that further, because if it's not subject to the conservation restriction, it's,
We're just in such a different place on this. I mean, it seems to me, I thought that the Conservation Commission had addressed all of these. So I guess there's really not.
so, I'm sorry. So
And you haven't.
I pulled up the slide set to refresh my memory on what option 2 was. And option 2 is road improvements and helping with materials. So it's not related option 2 is not related to the transportation of campers. It's more what we were getting into that says how can they assist in the burden of maintaining the roadway. Okay, I was thinking option 2 was when we were getting into all of the shuttles and the off-site buses and the on-site buses and stuff like that. So
But
option
it
2
is
is
option 2 that is the wording that you just mentioned, that
yeah.
Teamworks plans to introduce carpool discount programs to families who choose to carpool. So that was one of the options that would
Yes.
reduce the number of cars that were actually going up the road.
Right.
So that was the reference to,
Okay.
yeah. So can that go into that paragraph about, in terms of the option?
yeah, we can certainly,
Yes,
Okay,
we can incorporate that.
yep.
So, to your second point about the maintenance of the roadway.
Yep.
One of the things we had talked about in that meeting was to have DPW periodically assess the roadway.
Every 2 weeks. Yep.
Yes, to see, okay, is it getting to the point where they need to come in and do what they do to address the issues so that we're not waiting until
Okay.
members of the public are starting to log complaints, so that we shift it from being a reactive model to a proactive model.
Perfect.
And then we had a way to allocate the costs associated with repairing the road. Like one year you may have to repair the road 3 times over the course of the summer season because of weather conditions and traffic. The next year you might only need to do it once. We don't know. So based on the amount of work that needs to be done, there'll be an allocation of costs associated with that work to be determined from the highway department or DPW.
But that's also, yeah, but the other thing that we have to factor in is from an accounting perspective, what can we do? Because where this, in terms of with money going in, where the money from Teamworks goes in and what we can do with revolving funds, a lot of it is we have to comply with town accounting processes, you know, in terms of how we can and can't disperse funds. And that's part of what I think we need to work out. But yes.
How has it been over the last 20 years? How has the town maintained the road from Depot Street into the parking lot
Through
for
the,
last 20 years?
through the Department of Public Works
Exactly.
operating budget.
Yeah.
You're right, but what we're looking at now is that part of the funds that Teamworks pays us now helps to cover that cost.
Perfect. Okay.
And it's how do we do that in compliance with town accounting process?
I don't think that that's relevant to the
Right.
document that goes to Sudbury Valley trustees. That's
No,
an
but
in-house.
but that's one of the things that makes it more complicated to figure out for us.
Okay.
Because finance wants us to do things. Finance tells us sometimes that may sound great, but we can't do it that way.
But for the purposes of this document, we
Right.
can say that every 2 weeks, the DPW will be asked to come in and make sure that the road is, you know.
Or just assess it
Assess it,
for
okay,
how
for-
close it's getting
Yep,
to
assessment.
needing.
Okay.
Okay,
Assess road condition.
Yep,
yes,
every 2 weeks, great, okay.
okay. With the advisory committee, Matt has done some research and.
With the town clerk and the town's boards and committee database, an EDC advisory committee was formed between 2008 and 2012. Jim and Marilyn were members. It was dissolved in September of 2012. I have not found any minutes for why they were, how they were.
The Friends were established.
Or,
So
you
the
know,
Friends replaced the advisory committee?
That's my recollection, is that there
It
was
wasn't a
another.
one-for-one replacement,
Yep.
so.
Yeah, well, they served the same purpose at that point in time.
Okay.
So they were raising the money. But now there is no Friends. So the question is it time to go back to the residents of Westford and say, are there half a dozen people who will serve on the advisory board again?
Well, and actually, I think, Matt, the other question becomes who's the appointing authority? And so those are, so I guess maybe the way to frame it for Sudbury Valley trustees is we had a Friends of organization that has since disbanded, and we are now putting our,
In the process.
we're in the process of figuring out what's the right go-forward body to do that work, or to fill that need.
How can we expedite that? Because this is one of the things that's been on your discussion and action items for over a year. So I think that if we're.
No, that was, you
That
mean
one
the
has not been
EDC
there?
advisory?
Yeah,
That was basically to get the details that Matt had uncovered.
Okay.
Because we saw it mentioned in the master plan, we had no idea of the what or the why. Some of that had been lost to time. And Jim's been able to help us, well, between Jim and you, we now know that that was the predecessor of the Friends. So now we know that we need to, now in the absence of a Friends organization, we have to figure out what can fill that gap.
okay. So that can be mentioned in the letter to the
Yeah,
Sudbury Valley as well.
now that we know that was a predecessor to the Friends.
You're working on it.
Yes.
What
we're
does
work-
that entail, Marilyn, to work on that? I mean,
That means that people from this committee
Yeah.
will talk to whoever they think can help.
And then how do we get the advisory commission to be?
But we also need, I think what we need to do is we also need to put time and thought into drafting what's their charge. Because I think
Need a subcommittee.
what we need to be able to tell them what they're responsible for doing and.
Sure, the parameters.
I have the
Yeah.
original one. I can give you that one. That was the guidance to them.
Oh,
I
you
have
can
that.
leave it with her, yeah. Okay.
So I
Yeah.
will give that to Matt.
To
Matt, yes. You can-
Yeah, I wasn't able to find it.
Okay, so we
I'll
can,
leave that with you tonight,
Jim?
somewhere in the briefcase. Before I go home, I'll leave that.
what did you find? So,
The guidelines for the advisory committee as to what their job was and
okay.
how they.
Was there a similar document created for the Friends?
They were a nonprofit, so that was entirely different. They
Okay.
created their own persona.
So maybe if we reach out to Rose O'Donnell, would maybe somebody, maybe a former
certainly
friend
ask to
would
see if-
know if they drafted a charter?
Oh, of course, they had bylaws.
Okay.
They were bylaws.
So yeah, we can reach out and get what they had as well. And that
Would you
gives us
like
a
me
place
to
to.
do that? Because I could just call Diane tomorrow and get that to you, and that would take that off Matt's plate.
Sure.
Okay.
That would be helpful.
Yes.
Okay. All righty. And then the last one becomes the question of the caretaker and.
It should be posted, again, it's being advertised in the Lowell Sun tomorrow, that it's open. I think it's getting posted in Combis and on the town's website, likely concurrent with tomorrow.
Spectacular,
I
okay.
mean,
It'll be available on the town website for anybody.
Yeah.
And you had said it's also being fed into a state process as well?
Yeah, that's the state's Combis. That's
Okay, so we're getting it out into as many channels as there are. for us
Yeah,
to-
well, that's procurement, again.
Okay,
It
so
has to
so
go there,
that's,
but,
so
again,
that's the town's procurement process. It's, you basically had given them the document and now.
the invitation for bids that, has timelines and everything. So it should be posted shortly, if not.
Did the select board in fact determine that Westford Cat is a quote paper of record and that that's a place that you can?
I have
advertise it?
not heard from the town manager's office or
that's
town
okay.
council
Okay.
whether or not that is, I think
It
town
was just
council.
within the last 2 weeks that
I saw
Sarah
it.
Fletcher went.
I'm very excited if it is,
Yeah. So are
if
those-
town council says it is a newspaper of record.
Yeah.
Because I'd be
Okay.
happy to not pay the Lowell Sun
Oh,
to
mhm.
do things wrong.
So would, so would lots of applicants not have to pay those as well.
Yeah.
So, now, to be as pushy as I can about this, is there any chance in the world that this document could be done a month from tonight, that we could say that by your last meeting?
I think
in
a
March
draft,
we go
I think a
through?
draft can be prepared, again,
Brilliant.
in the next couple of weeks.
Wonderful.
Can include it in the commission's meeting packet, just in case anybody else has
So
any
March
comment.
11th?
Yes.
Or,
Yep,
okay,
March
So that would be
so,
spectacular. Okay.
yeah.
All righty. If we're lucky by that same time, we'll be gone and we'll be able to hand it over to Sudbury Valley.
You'll come back
Trustees.
as visitors.
Yes, we will.
So many things.
It is posted on the town's bid postings.
Spectacular.
It just hasn't made it down to the posting
It's
board.
not on the bulletin board.
It's right here.
I will find that document. I'm just-
Jim, I can send you the link.
It's right here.
Read it, I'm just trying to figure out where this is.
So the way to access it is business and bid opportunities. And you get here. And if anybody is interested in responding to the invitation for bids for the culvert replacement project at North Main Street and/or Acton Road.
I
Get
can
a
hardly
shovel.
wait.
Hey,
So-
Put in a bid, get a
this is
shovel.
open
Big
here
shovel.
Until March 19th. Okay, spectacular. Actually, I won't stay here tonight and go through my folder, but I'll bring that down to you tomorrow, Matt, so that you
Okay.
have that original
if you could
guideline.
scan it, that would be even.
If I
and-
give that to my wonderful husband, scanning is way beyond my
There you
job
go.
description, but I have a good.
If possible, if possible.
No problem at all. I'll send it to you. I'll scan it. You've been very patient. I have not, and I thank you very, very much for winding this all up. Okay. Yes.
So, well, one of the things that Matt does is he tends to put things together so that if somebody's coming to the meeting for one thing and he knows they're interested in something else. He tries to keep those together, so.
Okay.
Our next item is recommendation on meeting procedures. And I didn't want,
We just had a relatively long discussion where we had no motions on the table to be evaluated.
yes.
No mistaken.
So anyway,
And it worked.
okay. So the members of the subcommittee, Eric, Lauren, and I met to discuss your suggestions in the letter.
Thank you.
And we had a lot of conversations going back and forth. And what we basically got to, in summary, is that while town meeting is governed by parliamentary law, the articles before town meeting are the result of collaborative discussions prior to town meeting. The commission itself holds collaborative discussions for the items on its meeting agenda, resulting in the motions on which commissioners vote, because we cannot talk about anything until we get into the public meeting. And so our recommendation is that the Conservation Commission continue to conduct discussions in our current manner. That we collaborate among each other. A lot of times we're collaborating with the applicant or the applicant's representative for an exchange of ideas that really, it's very collaborative, and we think it gets us to the best possible outcomes.
It's fruitful.
It's fruitful. It's more focused on the outcome as opposed to the process itself. And so that was our recommendation to the commission.
So you don't find that there's ever an opportunity that you actually have to record the action and a decision that's made by the Conservation Commission, because that would require a motion.
And that's what, and yes, if we want to memorialize the details of a decision, then yes, we have the motion.
Okay.
And it's seconded.
Okay.
And then we vote.
You probably would.
It does seem to work. To me anyway, as a participant, I think that it's worked well. Nothing's decided until we have a group decision as defined by a vote, and that gets put in the minutes. Whether it's a notice of intent that we're looking at improving, or whether it's an order of conditions we're approving, or a certificate of.
Or it's the details of it. Thinking back to 27 Teddy Road, we were issuing an enforcement order and we wanted them to maintain a buffer. And the homeowner said, well, I really, it's helpful to me to have the space here to not have the trees, but farther down where it crosses the stream, I'd be very happy to do more extensive restoration there. And we felt that from our perspective, that was also a better outcome. And so it was just.
So was there a motion made that we
Yes.
approve 27 Tenny Road with these parameters?
Yes,
And seconded it?
the language
Okay,
was
I was
put
here for
in.
that meeting, but I didn't
Yeah.
remember the motion. Okay.
Tonight, we had a long discussion on 219 Elizabeth Road.
Yeah.
That's a good example. There were no votes on that except to continue the meeting till the next one. But there was a lot of topics that we had discussed.
Well, I think I owe you an apology because I don't think I've explained to you from a parliamentary standpoint why I thought, and I do still believe, that the Conservation Commission meetings could run more effectively. But you are the Conservation Commission, so I will withdraw any offer that I made to help you with that. You've had your subcommittee meet, and they've reported back to you, so you shall proceed as you have operated all along. And with that, I will.
So,
Thank you.
So, you've heard the subcommittee's recommendation to continue with our current process for discussion. Can I have a motion?
I like that, so I will move
So
that
moved.
we accept the committee's recommendation.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll get you that information tomorrow, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, moving on to our next 7:40 PM agenda item. It's a request to work after December 1st from.
You can just say it's an untimed,
Well, yeah.
So the contractors for the Boston Road project have requested, while they have been shut down for over a month, and probably potentially maybe for another couple weeks. With the recent snowstorm, they are requesting authorization to resume prior
All type of work, manner of work that they have been doing.
the installation of the sub-drain.
So the previously requested work.
Yep, between presently
Yeah.
through April 1st.
Thank you, Ellen.
If there are any questions from the commission?
Nope.
How's the compliance been
One of
so
the
far?
issues we always have at this time of the year is, you know, you get freeze-thaw, things get kind of soupy. There's any areas there that all of a sudden, you know, something's gonna, you know.
No, again, the areas that they've progressed south of Crown Road and that wetland resource. Again, the subdrain is tied into the actual stormwater system, with which eventually will be conveyed to the stormwater basin opposite of the, and so it's presently only a, you know, temporary sediment basin down there, so I don't see,
Okay.
and again,
But you know what I mean, how
and
sometimes
it's-
things can get inundated, you get
Mhm.
mud, you get.
and it's a visible site. That's another, you know, it's not only do I, you know, travel it twice, if not more, a day. I mean, that is a prime thoroughfare for the 25,000 residents of the town, with which, you know, if conditions start to get weird, I'm sure myself and or the engineering department will.
I'll tell you right now, I love it because I'm not like, I can actually drive through it right now, I mean, as opposed to having.
Also, a
you
point
know,
I agree.
it's-
So, but it is, you know, as we do, in theory, we'll get to thawing cycles and, you know, freeze thaw cycles.
If there's nothing that's gonna like slough into a resource area or something, then I'm fine with it. But
Yep.
you know what I mean.
Yep, and
It's that
keeping
time of
eyes
year.
on that one.
Yeah.
Again, that's an easy one to keep eyes on.
So can I have a motion to approve the Boston Road Improvement Project, DEP file number 334-1823, to continue the tasks, continue the work they had previously requested from now through April 1st?
If
So moved.
Second? All those in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. 87 Hildreth Street.
this request, similar request came in to the commission in the last couple of weeks. They provided a photo of the tree removals. Again, the two dead ash trees along the driveway were to be left as standing snags. So they provided a photo. But they weren't able to, likely due to the amount of snow on the ground, grind the stumps for the two trees with which were fully removed. If the commission is amenable.
So they want to grind stump?
Potentially, if
Yeah.
we ever have snow that melts. So.
So
if the
they'll
commi-
do it in the spring, is that what you're saying?
No, they want to do
Now,
it now.
sometime now,
Oh,
between now
Assuming
and
the
April.
snow's gone.
Yeah.
Assuming the snow is gone before April 1st. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the request to grind stumps at 87 Hildreth Street, DEP file number 334-1876 between now and April 1st?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We received late on Friday a request from the project engineer for the construction of the new dwelling at 17 Forest Road. They were previously before the commission as they were evaluating soil conditions prior to constructing the foundation. They have poured the foundation and they're requesting to be able to backfill the foundation between now and April 1st, as if the commission is amenable.
So you're looking for a motion?
Well, given the chances for adverse weather conditions, are their erosion controls adequate?
I'll stop out and take a look again now with the snow. I haven't stopped out this
Okay.
week. But I know with the previous storm, they were doing a good job controlling the site.
Yeah, but the previous storm didn't have any rain.
I will go check out and let them know to
I-
make,
I- I
ensure that, you know, no erosion.
With the proper erosion controls, they should be fine.
It's a day's work, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple of days and then it's stable, you know,
Yeah.
and then, you know, let them know to physically stabilize, you know, jute netting or some form of, you know,
Okay, so
disturb.
in essence, it's a conditional
I mean,
year to work?
I mean, the
In
request,
terms of the jute netting and stuff?
that is referenced in other special conditions in the order, so I
He's
can
just
just
gonna
cite
make
those.
sure that our orders and conditions are being met in regards to erosion control.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve work at 17 Forest Road, DEP file number 334-1882 from now through April 1st?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, the, at Kimball Farm, 400 Littleton Road, they've installed the golf netting poles outside the resource area as they're approaching to work in the buffer to the resource areas. They're requesting permission to start to work between now and April 1st. The commission may recall these are, I think, 2-foot concrete foundations with which they're excavating. Again, limited disturbance in terms
To
of.
the poured footing, basically.
Yep, it's poured footing. So just,
Just one.
I haven't been able to stop out to review, but again, it's the actual
It's probably the least
alteration.
intrusive of all of them, so. Yeah.
Can't argue that.
So make the motion.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the requested work at 400 Littleton Road, Kimball Farm Golf Nets, DEP file number 334-1874,
So moved.
between now and April 1st?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Go back to the agenda. I'll be need to send the MOU to the Agricultural Commission for their upcoming meeting, and attend that to present kind of what was previously discussed by the commission. I have not received any further information for the certificate of compliance request for Franklin, 69 Broadway Street, 334-1693. And to the enforcement in progress and monitoring, I think some of them have been impacted by the snow that we've had this winter. For 120 Main Street, as we only have one new public hearing at that meeting, I'll try to invite all parties to, hopefully all parties will be able to attend and discuss how to resolve the deviations that occurred for the installation of the pool and whether or not the commission wants to assign or kind of reassign any fines.
Okay. Discussion or action items?
Don't have, the only item I have something for is with respect to the Freedom Park improvements. Oops. That's picturesque.
Nice.
Freedom Park. Right?
Yes. Field of daffodils. The CPA administrator did provide, following the Community Preservation Committee's last meeting, did provide that both applications were recommended as part of their review, approved unanimously, 8-0. So the next stop is they will be reviewed by the select board, I think at their March 10th meeting, and then if, for the select board to provide recommendations therefore, and then the next stop from there is town meeting. Oh, I guess I have to start announcing when town meeting is. Okay, make a note.
28th.
March 20th, yeah. That's really the only update I have for that. For any of the discussion and action items.
Have people had a chance to review the January 28th minutes?
Yeah, I haven't read them, so I'm not gonna vote on it. I got. gave
You
me
want
the
to,
package.
would you like us to defer to next meeting so that
Nice.
Warren?
Yes,
read them?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Let's defer.
That'd be great.
Okay.
All right, I'll put a big note to myself, read.
Well, can I have a motion to adjourn? Unless somebody has something else we want to talk about.
So moved.
So,
Second.
All those in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.